Hey, security peeps, we are live again with another edition of Breaking Into Cybersecurity, and it is Mondays with Dr. Dan. And I am Renee Small, cybersecurity super recruiter, helping awesome people hire great talent. My co-host is back today, so we will shout him out first. Say hi to everybody, Chris.
Hey everyone. Howdy.
Howdy.
Howdy. Man of many words.
Right, short and sweet. Dr. Dan is back. Say hi to everybody, Dan.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see people who returned and new people. I'm a business and sports psychologist. I help bring the psychology of business into the workplace and help people win and avoid really, really, really costly mistakes.
Yeah. Dan, we were chatting a little while ago and talking about all that's happening and going on and continuing to go on. And you were sharing that you saw some of the comments on LinkedIn with people, especially because we are continuing on our challenge. Before I get started with Dan, I want to share with everyone, we are going to continue our challenge. We still need more people to get hired in January. We have a couple days left. But we are doing our Infosec hires, 10 hires in January, and then we extended it. Chris Foulon here. First it was James Azar's big mouth. Now it's Chris Foulon's bigger mouth, who said that he wants to do 221 people for the year 2021. OMG. So
why not? Why not? We have lots of unemployed people. We have lots of people coming into the industry. Let's get people hired.
Let's get people hired. So with all that said, so the new hashtag is, there's going to be Infosec hires and then 221 in 2021, which is good, which will be very, very, very exciting. I cannot wait to bust through that, that goal this year. And so Dan started to see a lot of people making comments, and he's been on these shows for the last, goodness, almost a year now, listening to all of the Infosec woes that we deal with and go through. And so he kept seeing people making comments on LinkedIn around, not being able to get hired and the different challenges that they're having. And so Dan talked about, and he uses this a lot with his clients and especially, I think, the athletes in particular, getting prepared to compete and making sure that you're prepared to compete. So before I let Dan take it away, I want to shout some people out. Hey, Jonathan, good morning. And Ben is back. Hey, Ben, good morning, everyone. So Dan?
Yeah, I think if you look, when Renee and I worked in the past, we dealt a lot with people who were way, way up the reporting ladder. So it wasn't just the person you report to above you, but the person above them and above them. And what do those people need to have happen for their career, for their future, for the operation of the organization that they're running? And we found it frequently, people were dropping off from their support team. They didn't even realize they weren't there. Stuff wasn't getting done. And so one of the questions we asked is, what information is not getting passed up to the CIO? So you're a CIO, you're running an organization, whatever it is, whatever the structure is, and you expect that you're getting all the information you need to make decisions. And I found over and over again that if the information that somebody below you gets, and either they're not comfortable, confident enough, prepared enough to present it to you, if they feel it's a risk to present it to you, then you're not getting it. And so the question is, we found that people on that level that Renee and I worked with were asking, what am I not learning? What am I not hearing about? And how could somebody possibly let me make a decision without all the information that I need? And so that comes back to, winging it. Some people just have to wing it, and winging it only works until the bar gets raised. And frequently the bar gets raised and you don't see it. You don't know that it's getting raised. And so what happens? So one of the things that, Chris talked about, the amount of people who are looking for jobs the amount of people who are running companies who really, really need to have competent people who fit their competency model, which we can talk about as we go along. But what does it cost somebody not to hire the right person? What does it cost somebody? What does it cost a company? What does it cost somebody in money? A lot sometimes. What does it cost them in emotion? Sometimes a lot. But what about reputation? And so it's making sure that people are asking the right questions and they're prepared to compete. So how do people prepare to compete? It's certainly being knowledgeable about your topic, what you're dealing with, the area you want to get into, but also from a personal perspective, from each individual who's on this call, who ultimately Renee and I and Chris feel that these people are really the CEOs of their own company. Everybody on this call is running your own company. It's no different than a professional athlete who says, well, I'm on a team. Yeah, okay, you're on a team, but if you don't bring your A game to the field, nothing's happening. And the people on your team need the confidence that you're bringing your A game. And if somebody on your team needs more resources or more education, then frequently in the companies that I've worked with, it's the responsibility of people above them to educate them, to give them the tools they need to do what you need to get done. So it's really taking an overview of everything and saying, how do we make this happen? And, the degree, we just finished these 2 great football games on Sunday. I mean, I'm happy. What's better than Tom Brady and Mahomes in the Super Bowl? Nothing. I can't wait. So the point is that, but it didn't happen by accident. And, it's interesting. One of the examples I use for preparation for competition was Super Bowl III. Now, my granddaughter said to me, you were alive at Super Bowl III? I said, yes. But the point is that Super Bowl III, Dave Herman protected Joe Namath from Bubba Smith. Bubba Smith was 6'7", 300, who knows, whatever pounds. And I said to Dave, how did you do that? How were you at 6'2", 250 able to protect him? He said, I watch game films. I said, what do you watch for? He said, well, I figured when a guy that big has got to move forward, he has to be standing on 1 foot just a little bit longer than everybody else. So I just waited till he was on 1 toe, till he was on 1 foot. I watched his foot come up. The minute his foot came up, that's when I would hit him. So when somebody has 4 quarters and numerous downs to win a Super Bowl, and there's that much riding on it, and they prepare to that degree, how do people not prepare? Now, I have never been in an Infosec interview with somebody, so I don't know what questions they're looking for. I don't know what a company is looking for. But I think that somebody would want to be thinking about, what does this interviewer need to have happen, both for them personally and for their company? Who do they have to report to? What does that person need to have happen? And so it's just a different way of looking at it.
You're right, Dan. I think that when you talked about just being able to prepare at that level, when you talk about Joe Namath and you talk about Super Bowl III, and how prepared somebody like that is, like how much did he have to watch that game, the replays over and over to spot that this is what would be the spot that would make him, tip over. So right. You think about the preparation, the level of preparation that goes into something like that, to compete and to be at that level. It's pretty fascinating.
And when you bring it back to cybersecurity, I would have to ask the two of you, what's the connection? What's the similarity there?
I'd say some of the similarities are things like doing continuous research, keeping up on the topics of the day, doing labs so that you understand the technology. But I think some of the other preparation that will be critical is interview prep. Being able to talk to those game stories, to talk to your actions, to talk through your frame of thinking, and to be prepared to tell those stories when you are in an interview with a hiring manager, or even just a peer that could refer you to someone that they can have that positive interaction with you to pass you up the chain.
I agree with you.
I would also add that to Chris, to both of your points, there was a young lady that came on the show got to be a few years ago now. And she talked about how do you remember which one? With all those interviews, 30 something interviews?
Yeah, she had over 30 interviews, and she said by the time she got to her last interview, she was as cool as a cucumber, as she said. And I feel the same way. I mean, when I've been on hunting sprees and I've had lots of interviews, I'd take an interview parked in the parking lot, driving home from work, because I knew my story. I knew how to respond to things, and I had it down pat. I was ready to go anytime.
Yeah, and that's really about preparation, because I tell people all the time, hopefully you're not interviewing all the time. Hopefully that's not happening. So when it is the time to interview, getting that prep ready and getting ready is definitely key.
Well, I'm wondering if you guys would agree that a person in cybersecurity today is always a consultant. They have their own consulting company. They don't work for somebody else. They have a consulting company. They bring whatever level of expertise they have to that event. And the thing is that 30, for somebody to take 30 interviews to get comfortable, what difference would it make if she was comfortable in the first interview?
Well, I think that in her particular case, she was pretty junior. I think it was her first role, and it was the process. So getting to that point that, that she did all those 30 interviews. But yeah, Dan, I see where you're coming from with the 30 interviews, or getting prepped up so you're as cool as a cucumber on your first, just like you would be on your 30th.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because part of my practice is I use hypnosis to make that happen with people. I help them be able to focus and concentrate immediately, and then putting together the correct story. That's the kind of thing that you and Chris would do, because I don't know how to put together that story, but having the confidence to talk about it. And it becomes important to be able to present yourself in a way that to give the person that's speaking to you the language that they need to talk about you to somebody else. People say today in general business, even people who are on here who sell products to cybersecurity, they talk about a 30-second elevator pitch. Well, you don't have 30 seconds. You only have 6 seconds to get somebody to say, hey, I need to come back and ask them questions. The other thing is, we talk a lot. We've talked about this on the program for a long time, that everybody I work with today is in 2026 working backwards. Where do you want to be? What does it look like? What does your company look like? What's your dream? That takes the dream and puts it into your subconscious mind, which will act on it over and over and over again without you having to do anything but just follow along with where it sends you. But you create the dream, and then you have the dream drag you toward it. But I found guys with HP that I worked with when we were in a merge with Compaq, and that was like eons ago. I just said, get somebody out of 2021 into 2026. And what happens is you're giving the people in the company you're talking to the ability to dream and permission to dream. Dream about where do you want to be and what's in the way. And one of the things that's in the way is not hiring somebody like Renee or Chris to help them with that, or me.
Yeah, definitely. one of the questions from one of the audiences is, can it be detrimental to be overconfident? And I think there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, or confidence and being a prick, or some other adjective we want to use. But you can talk confidently about your experiences while still acknowledging that you might not know everything, but still be confident in your ability to deliver and your ability to learn on the go.
I agree with you, Chris. But it's really evaluating who you're talking to. You have to understand who you're talking to. Renee and I have talked about this for years. You can go into a company and be talking to somebody who you threaten. They may be looking for your job, or they may be waiting to move up into your job. So you're never getting past them. So, but it's really profiling who you're talking to, what you need to say to them, what they need to hear. And putting that together requires some research. Like Chris says, see, I'm not talking here at all about researching the topics of Infosec or the software or the tools that are out there. I'm talking about the psychology that's brought into the interview and that you bring into a company.
Yeah.
And the people who have most to concern, who should have the most concern about this, in my belief, is the CIOs. Because they're depending on the people underneath them to carry through their mandate. And so that's where the question should be, because Renee and I have been dealing with this too for years. People who are sitting up there going, they said, do you know what's going on? And I said, what?
I think many people would be surprised at how much leaders are unaware of things. They don't know what's going on, or they may think one thing is happening and it's something else.
If they're depending on people to communicate that to them, that becomes important.
I wanted to add in to Chris's response to Tony's question about being overconfident. I think, when you are interviewing, and specifically around interviewing, knowing your stuff is very important, and being, I guess, confident is always a good thing, making people feel comfortable. I remember going to the doctor when I was having my second son, and I had all these medical issues prior. And so when I got referred to two people, and the first person was not she sounded okay. She sounded good. She sounded fine. And I asked her, specific questions. So I had these various conditions. And so she, she responded, she was okay. But the second guy, when I went to him, he's like, look, I got this, you'll be fine. He knew, he said, I've done this before. This is a not worst case scenario. He took away the nerves. And sometimes you need somebody that can just come in and say, yeah, I'm confident, you're good. Nothing's going to happen. Don't worry about it. We've done this, I've done this 1,000 times before. And so I ended up going with him, and it was a great experience. And so I think, having that confidence in your work and in yourself, you know what you can provide, what you can bring to the table. It's important. But to Dan's point, when you're, in the role, or potentially you get in these places and your confidence is looked at as a threat to some people. And I've experienced it. I mean, Dan, we could have 14 of these talking about about what happens. But again, with Dan and the psychology and the psychological aspect of it all, like, hey, this person may be threatened by you because of this, and you not really realizing that you're threatening anybody. You're just, moseying along doing your work because that's what you do. Not knowing that someone else is having an issue with that. So.
And I think that's where like peer interviews and interviews with other individual in the companies outside of the process, you could reach out to someone and just trying to find out the culture, find out what's happening there. And you can kind of gauge that from the culture as to how cutthroat it might be and whether people will be acting in that sort of fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. The culture fit part is so very important. Let me shout some more people out here. Kevin says he is glad to be here. Glad to have you here, Kevin Russell. And Terrence is here. Hey, Terrence, good to see you here today. So, as we continue on, Dan, what are some of the other things that you see as challenges for people? You know, we talked about the preparation. You know, how should they get prepared like that? I know, you know, if they can't participate in some of the stuff that you do in your practice and the hypnosis and things like that to get them prepared like immediately, what are some other things for folks to be able to start to prepare, you know, to prepare to compete, to realize like you're always in competition?
Well, you know, we had that discussion with someone some months ago who said that it sounded like I was talking about people competing and somebody has to win, and for somebody to win, somebody has to lose. And she wasn't comfortable with that. And I said, you know, if you were not competitive, if you didn't want to win, I couldn't hire you as a cybersecurity person to protect my company, because you're competing all the time, constantly. The competition is always there. But you mentioned about being uncomfortable. One of the things I find is that people can find a way to be comfortable when they're uncomfortable. You know, you realize you're uncomfortable. I'm in an uncomfortable situation, which I think that these Infosec people are all the time. You never know what's coming or who's coming after you. And so how do you make sure that your discomfort or whatever does not impact your performance? And the more you can get your performance into your subconscious mind, the better off you are. Because any play that you saw happen on the games yesterday, these guys didn't think about where they were going to throw the ball. They just saw the opening, and it happened so fast that you have to rely on your subconscious to do that. But a lot of what happens is people are able to identify what they do well. And I'm astounded at the amount of people who are really, really good at what they do and can't tell you what they do. They do it without thinking. We talked about unconscious competence. That was one of our topics a month or two ago. So, it requires you, I believe, to realize why God made your arms so long, so you can pat yourself on the back from time to time, you know, because you really, but again, to be able to communicate, to be able to interpret or understand through pre-interviews or setting up an interview what the company is looking for, what's not happening in this company at this point, what type of challenges do they have, what challenges do they anticipate, and then again, are they willing to talk about it? We talked a lot about the security of conversations that we have with people, where people want to come in anonymously. They don't want anybody to know they're asking these questions. They don't want anybody to know they're looking to move to another position. Or how many of you have had people chasing you? They know your reputation. They're coming after you. They know where you are. They want to bat down your door. And I see that with people recruiting all the time. I have two people I'm working with now. They said, oh, I don't know about interviews. I said, all you have to do is stand still. And they're going to be knocking at your door. And they are. But
and I think some of that you were mentioning as to like the unconscious competence, it's taking a step back and either writing down your story, creating a storyline that you can respond to in an interview, or creating a playbook like the pros do in football. Okay, if this happens, then we have this, and this step that we can follow. And a lot of security professionals have that playbook as to how to respond to certain situations. So be proactive and create that playbook yourself, so that that is a story that you can talk to when you are in an interview, asking how would you tackle that situation. You might not have done it in the past, but you can already talk through your game plan for tackling those types of situations.
All right, Chris, I think you're right. They have to work on a story. They have to work on a story. But what story meets the needs of the company you're talking to? And is the person who's your hiring manager, are they familiar enough with the field and the risks to be able to appreciate the story you're telling them?
I think that question is so very important, because I hear a lot of times, especially when you get higher up the chain, at the, the executive level, when you start to get to CISOs and directors of security, and they say that they feel that, these companies and leaders and stuff that don't understand what they do and don't know what they do. And so they struggle to hire the right type of talent because they don't know what to hire for. They don't know the right questions to ask. They don't know what to hire for. So when you talk about then, the competency models and things like that, that's the place where I see a gap, because I hear this quite often, especially at the leadership levels.
Well, if you want to, I don't want to say steal from a big company to spend an awful lot of money putting together this concept, having a competency model requires you to really identify what you need your people to do and this is global. This is not local small companies. This is a worldwide global company. And, if you wanted to email me, you just put competency model, I'll send you the competency model. Go down a list and do what we did with senior executives from HP. Look at this list and tell us what you really do well. Highlight it, check it off well. And then look at the other things that you think that with the role I'm going into, what do I need to do? What skills do I need to perform very well in that role? And it may tell you there, but if not, you should create your own competency model. I don't know how a company can hire somebody without a competency model. Because if somebody walked out tomorrow and left, how do you know what competencies he or she had that you need to fill in if she was doing a great job? And then why did she leave? That's another question. When somebody leaves the company, what's going on that makes them leave? Renee and I could write 4 books, 4 novels on that. But again, when you look, when something is not working, I think the thing is that we had a discussion last week about a company that said, I've had a role available open for a year. I have no recruiting system within my company. And we've never done this before. Exactly. That's why you had so what did it cost you to have somebody, to have an open role? Maybe nothing. Maybe it's like somebody who's unessential, but not always. And who's to make the decision?
Right. And that's very often a question, like, what's the risk? Because if it's been some of these places, and we can go all the way back, Dan and I can go years back, asking the same question. What's the risk? You have a position open for a year. Do you need it? Do you really need that spot? And if you
depends on how much pain they feel.
It's if you can hang out with it for a year without it for a year, then maybe the risk is not that high of not having it filled.
I think what we've heard a lot on phone calls from people is the amount of people who don't really know what's going on in their company. And they're not knowledgeable enough about the topic. And when you ask somebody who's on a senior level about these topics that you guys are familiar with, that you live and sleep with, maybe they're embarrassed to tell you they don't know. So how do you make somebody comfortable with not knowing this stuff? See, when I talk about stories to people, I never talk about myself or the person I'm with. I talk about somebody else. I'll talk about my friend who he's a project manager. He's got international construction projects all over the place. And I said, when you look over a contract, what do you look at? And he says, I look for what's missing. He said, I know what's going to be there, well, boilerplate, but I look for what's missing. And finding in a contract he reviewed a couple of years ago, he discovered one word was missing. And when they added the word into the contract, it saved his client $150,000. One word worth $150,000.
Yep.
So it's how do you get people to think about when they're talking about, not anybody who's interviewing, it's not what does it cost them to well, I use Renee and Chris. So, it's not I want to hire Renee and Chris. My question is, I don't want to not hire them. I've said this before. I said, if somebody's trying to build a cybersecurity team, what do they want to do? Go to the yellow pages to find them? No, you call Renee, you call Chris. So it's people who are in the field who attract people, who ask them questions. And how do you separate yourself from your competition? By being different.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say this right before we wrapped in. I was just thinking about even Chris's consulting, working with people in security, having his type of background. And it is true. What does it cost you not to connect with Chris? Because you may be in your own head, and thinking that you should be going down one path, and having 3 conversations with Chris could shorten your path to where you want to get to in 3 months, 6 months, it could literally shorten it down. And it really truly is. What does it cost not to connect with him? Thinking about these resumes and all the work that we're doing, what does it cost to have a resume that's going to get where you will spin your wheels forever? And in a couple of sessions, 2 weeks ago, 6 people out of that were able to, 6 people in total, but so many people got so much out of having expertise and people who look at this stuff on a consistent basis provide our insight. So, when it comes to Chris, when it comes to Dan, what does it cost not to be connected to folks like this, not reaching out to them, not working with them? What does it cost you not to do it? So,
it's just
exactly.
Going on, it's incalculable. You never know. I'll tell you where you don't want to be. Yep. You don't want to be in 2026 looking backwards, say, oh my God, I wish I had done this sooner.
Yep.
I wish I had called them sooner. And so from my perspective, take a look at my website. There's a lot of information on there. If you have any questions, call me. Calls are free the first time and to find out what's going on. And because I hate to see somebody out there struggling and trying to figure what's the next step. And believe me, if you're looking for cybersecurity strategy, I'm not the guy. I'm the psychology guy. You got to talk to these people,
Exactly. So folks, we are going to wrap. We are a little bit over our 30-minute mark today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. As always, a lively conversation. Our virtual audience, always great to see all these folks here with us. And this week is a busy week for me in particular. I have tomorrow I'm about to create the link for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to have Christy Rutherford on here. And Christy Rutherford is a shark. She is amazing. She is going to come on. She has been working with executives and getting them since June of 2020. So think about this, June, the middle of a pandemic. Since June of 2020, she has helped people get 1.5 million, I believe, in raises, or 1.25 million in raises, something like that. She talked to me about somebody who she helped get 75K. Unbelievable. So she's going to be on here talking about office politics. So some of the stuff that we talk about here, all this good stuff. So she's great. She's fantastic. She's here tomorrow. Wednesday daytime, I am hanging out with Chris Roberts and the folks from Wiser will be talking. So that link is up. I'm going to put this out there for everybody to see. Wednesday evening, we are going to be with Federal Career Connections. So Chris Westbrook, a lot of Chris's this week, Chris Westbrook, who is the person, the lady who former, retired CIA. She came on and she gave such phenomenal tips. So she's coming back. That's Wednesday night at 7. And then Thursday, once again, CISO Thursdays. So busy week. This should be a lot of fun. We're gonna get some people hired in the year 2021. We're gonna use 2021 and make it like a double year, like 2020 and 2021 all together, to get all these people hired this year. So I'm excited. So with all of that said, everyone have a good day, since you're going to see me very often this week. And Dan, we'll see you on Thursday.
Yep.
Chris, we'll see you one of these days, hopefully in the week, and we'll keep it going.
Thanks, everyone.
Good
Bye,
day.
everybody.